Hey guys, it's Sharice. All right, we're gonna talk about line today. Line. We all know what a line is. Now we have to stand in line 6 feet apart to do anything. Line may be perceived as delicate, tentative, elegant, assertive, forceful, or even brutal. So line can actually be expressive, is what this is saying. It can evoke thoughts and emotions, simplest, most complex element to art, and the basic building block for all art. There are actual lines, and there's implied lines, and there's contour lines, psychological. We're going to be focusing on actual, which are just a line, literally, like line. And then implied, which has actual line in it, but it's like figures pointing or whatever. They're hinting, they're, implying something to us. I'll give you the examples of that in just a second. So actual and implied. So those are our words for today. So here's Cezanne's basket of apples, and there's actually like mistakes in this work. And we'll talk later about why he did what he did here. But it contains many of the visual elements, all of which we'll be covering. Line is what we're starting with today, but there's shape, light, color, space, and time. Line is one of the most fundamental elements of art. Lines possess direction, they can connect, or they can divide. They can be thick, thin, long, short. They also can connotate movement. Andy Goldsworth eats hazel leaves. He experiments with the movement of line in sculpture made of natural materials. The hazel leaves are connected with grass stalks, placed in a spiral and shaped in a spiral and placed in a small stream. The current of the stream eventually takes over and leaves and breaks the leaves apart. He uses impermanent materials and lines as a metaphor for the timeline that is human life. So his work only exists in photographs because it's done, it's made in nature, nature takes it over, and it goes away. Outline and contour line indicates the edge of a shape or form. It could be indicated in means like this. You may quick to see Smith's house, and a 3D form can be indicated by contour lines. Let me just stop on this. All right. Totally simple, right? Very like lines that indicate a TP, which is a place to live. It's shelter. But look at how simple these lines are, but we recognize what this is. This is actual line also, and this is contour lines where you can see a 3D form. And it creates the illusion of the body occupying space. Each line surrounds and establishes a volume. So again, it's just lines, but we realize that this is the human figure. This is made out of wire. Paul Klee's drawing, line. Giacometti, man pointing. Although he points at nothing specific, his gesture activates the space around him. The skeletal figure represents the human condition, isolated but willing to communicate with the world around it. This was also right after World War II. One kind of implied line is the line of sight where the figures are looking in a direction. So right now, this guy's going, hey, y'all, look over here, right? Y'all can't see me, but I'm Italian, I'm Sicilian, so I like to talk with my hands. Okay. And I'm from New Orleans. So you can only imagine how I am in person. So the figures are all looking, right? So you got all these people at the bottom, and they're all looking and pointing, and we're like, what are they doing? And then they're like these kind of whatever people in the middle, and they're all looking and pointing. So they're implying, implied line, They're hinting, hey, y'all, look up, look up, look up, right? He ties 3 separate horizontal edges. All right. So lines, functions, it can outline and shape as form, as we saw with the TP, to create depth and texture, or to suggest direction and movement. Sri Samba's cavalry. He used implied lines arc over the victim and show a downward thrust of the whips, the power of the image, and an anticipated terror that these implied lines convey. So they can create directional movement and force. And in this, there's like this visceral reaction to what we're seeing. Lines can possess intellectual, emotional, and expressive qualities. What? It's a line. How? So Pat Spear makes her dictionary remarks derived from artists she admires employed line. And she refers to different things. So she took one line out of Rembrandt's Three Crosses, and then she like blew it up, and then she like created lines around it. Whatever, won't let me go back, so I give up. All right. We're not going to worry about all this, but hatching is perpendicular, no, parallel lines, yes, and then cross hatching, they cross, the lines cross. And then pointillism is art with dots, but don't worry about contour hatching. So here, just by using hatching and cross hatching, just line, we recognize their shapes. Here's Pat Steer again, and this is from Van Gogh's Starry Night. We've probably seen this. Very familiar. And his brushstrokes are super distinctive. They're his signature. They're like, you know, you see this and you go, oh yeah, that's Van Gogh. All right. So installation art is usually not permanent. We'll get into that later. But Solowitz's wall drawing, his line is precise, controlled, logical, and organized. He paints directly on the wall, and his work echoes the room's architecture. And everything he does is like perfection. We'll see some of his sculptures. And so this is him installing the work. And so basically, somewhere there is a wall that has been painted over, and under it is this. And it does not, it still exists, but you cannot see it. The grid can unify things and give a sense of order, and unity is geometric regularity. So the grid seems to contain and control his fluid brushwork, and the repetitive elements impose a sense of logic where none necessarily exists. Again, we're going to talk about the grid later, and I'm just giving you an example. We all know what a grid is. All right. Matthew Ritchie's example using both loose and controlled line in the same work. It's about figures being reassembled and rebuilt inside the people that survived, no sign of the world. Okay. So he's got like drips and craziness, and then he's got like this drawing underneath. Same with this, right? We've got this like recognizable, like, okay, it's you know, a figure and an animal and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden all these lines are dripping. And they seem to work together to create an image of the wholeness and unity of the creation. Line orientation. So there's Socrates in the middle. As opposed to Delacroix, right? Who's just like all over, and it's just emotional, romantic, and full of passion and feelings. The dynamic quality of movement and agitation is completely opposite the calm and stability like David's Death of Socrates. Jackson Pollock, number 14, gray. He shows loose gestural and expressive qualities. Again, we'll talk about him later. in his process, but he was groundbreaking at the time. This is the late 40s. So we're after World War II. Here's Cy Twombly. So actual and implied. Okay, so we all see like this like curve, right? An A. It's kind of like a backwards S. And then we see dotted lines, but we can kind of connect the dots, literally, to like make that S shape. And then there's only horizontal lines in C, but we still, our mind goes, up, there's that backwards S shape. We see that curve. So even when it's not like a line, like an A, our mind completes it. So this one, I don't know how y'all looking at this, but in class, I'm telling you, there's something, just throw it off about this painting. All right. Because they just like all pointing to that baby going, they implying something. And I just don't think it's right, y'all. It ain't right. That's all I got to say. But there's a pyramid structure, blah, blah, blah. When a figure points or looks in a direction, it causes psychological line. This psychological whatever is cuckoo. So here is kind of like Madonna and Child, or like you'll see Mary and Jesus, or what, however, like depicted. And so this is like made out of the woman's hair. Is her baby, because it's like part of her, kind of supposed to be like the umbilical cord connection, blah blah blah. All right, Elizabeth Catlett's sharecropper. So lino cut, we'll talk about that later, but she made all those little tiny lines, she cut them. And this is all hatching, right? There's no cross hatching, it's all hatching. And Elizabeth Catlett's sharecropper reveals Catlett's lifelong concern for the oppressed and her assertion of the dignity of women. The print focuses on a female farm worker whose face, made rough and leathery by years of toil, is nonetheless determined and commanding. This is a lino cut, a type of printmaking, which we'll learn about later in the semester. And this technique, in my opinion, lends to strong images. That's my opinion. All right, so this is hatching, and we talked about actual and applied lines. We'll see hatching and cross hatching again. All right, y'all. Peace. I will check in Tuesday with a new lecture and a new question. Have a fantastic weekend, whatever that means. Much love. Peace.